morning, everyone. If we could go ahead and take our seats, that'd be terrific. Welcome to our Breaking Barriers to Return to the Office panel discussion. My name is Ken Swanson. In addition to being a member of BOMA Chicago and one of the co-founders of Chicago Returns, I'm an executive vice president with Riverside Investment and Development. Riverside and our partner, Howard Hughes Corporation, developed this building, 110 North Wacker. We're very proud of the significant investments we've made to promote and protect the health and wellness of our building's occupants today and into the future. Over the past 18 months, we've listened closely to our tenants and worked with numerous partners to set new standards for building health and wellness. These efforts have been recognized by third parties, and this building, 110 North Wacker, is now the largest WELL Platinum certified structure in the world. So pretty good record there. And this attendance is terrific. We're thrilled to see so many of you joining us in person to hear the latest insights and updates about public transit and safety. In our many meetings and discussions with tenants, these barriers that exist before entering the office have consistently been raised as significant concerns. The discussion today is intended to conduct a deep dive on those challenges, and we've got a terrific panel that will provide great insight on these matters. And BOMA and Chicago Returns are proud of the continued partnership that the commercial real estate industry has with our public transit agencies and the Chicago Police Department, especially now as our tenants revise and implement their plans to return to the office. I'd also like to thank our event sponsor, Titan Security Group, for their generous support of this event, so thank you very much. Finally, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Barbara Lumpkin. She's a principal and founder of Lumpkin Strategies, a boutique business affairs firm. Barbara brings a unique set of insights and expertise to this conversation, and her wide-ranging experience as a businesswoman, civic leader, former Chicago Public Schools Deputy CEO, and a former City of Chicago elected official. Barbara, I look forward to hearing today's discussion, and I'll hand it off to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
And thank you, Ken, for such lovely introduction. I do appreciate you for all of your work on this very important topic. Thanks to all of you for being here today. I'd like to thank and welcome our panel, and also thanks again our host for joining us and hosting us here today, our friends at World Business Chicago, BOMA, of course, and of course, putting together such a program that is benefiting all of us, regardless of how or where you're situated in Chicago, in society, this topic impacts you. So what we want to do today is hear from a panel of experts who will talk about the very things that I'm sure you're talking about around your tables at night or during the day, or in the hallways as you interact with your neighbors and friends. But nonetheless, it is very important information. What will happen today is, of course, we'll have our panels of experts will present, and they will talk about those various kernels of truth and information that they want to lay out for all of us. Afterwards, what I'd like to do then is come back and have some pointed questions of our panelists, and if we have time, we'll circle back to the audience and include questions as well. So it's real important for all of us to know that there's a role for everyone to play as Chicago returns. It is really wonderful to see as many of you out today, and as I was walking over to the building today, to see as many people out and about, coming in and out, and running about their way, almost like old times, almost like old times. So we're working very hard to get there, and we certainly will be best informed today on at least the start of what we can do, and those things that we want to continue to do as we work towards a full return. So today we're going to hear from public transit, public safety. We'll gain insights. They'll share with us protocols, their safety protocols, latest resources, and news. So we want to make certain that we're attentive and we share the information with our staffs in our offices as we move forward. And I would like at this point to welcome our panel. Mr. Dorval Carter, who is the President and CEO of Chicago Transit Authority. You want to give a wave so the folks know that's you over there. Okay. Mr. James Derwinski, who heads Metra. Okay, so he already got it, so you know about the wave. Mr. Rocky Donahue is Pace Suburban Bus, and you know they keep us moving. And of course, Captain Sheamus Mannion, Chicago Police Department, and a neighbor. So we want to make certain that we are, taking note, whether mentally or physically, taking note of the things that our panelists will share with us today, and we will move forward. But before getting there, I'd like to share a bit of information that I want everyone to be mindful of. As we move forward, as you know, we are living still through a ever-evolving situation with the pandemic. So as you look to your staffs or your offices or planning returns, we want to make certain that you're following the website, chicagoreturns.com, and for any updates on COVID or any information from the Chicago Public Health Department, Chicago COVID dashboard, check that out. Make certain that you're doing that frequently because, again, information is updated regularly, and this is an evolving situation. And also to bring it pinpoint to Chicago, where most of you may be working or may be residing, check out chicago.gov. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is turn it over to our first panelist. Captain Sheamus Mannion will first present. Captain Mannion.
Good morning, everyone. First, thank you, everyone, for actually coming here. As Barbara said, my name is Sheamus Mannion. I have the opportunity to be the captain in the 1st District. Trying not to use too much police speak. 1st District means 31st Street on the south to the river on the north. And when we think of BOMA, when we think of downtown, the Central Business District, it's the 1st District, like you just said. But then also, I'll be remiss, we have a representative from the 18th District, Officer Kelly, there, thank you. I don't want her going back to her commander and saying, didn't I recognize her, which is Commander Stevens. But the 18th District picks up from the first, where the river is, and they go up to Fullerton. And we'll just say, for easy purposes, to the expressway. I mention that because it really doesn't matter, because when you call 911, you want the police to respond, and you don't really care if it's from the 1st District, the 18th District, the specialized unit, somewhere from CTA, somewhere from Metra. You want us there, and that's our job. So that being said, 1, 18, the mass transit units, we all work together, I think, very well. It's gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. Technology helps. For example, with the CTA, and when I use fancy words, it's a strategic decision support center. We call them SDSC rooms because we break everything down to initials and acronyms. But we have that, and it's basically a room in each of the districts that has cameras, and we're monitoring it 24/7. It's an actual watch, it's an actual beat, and that's their job. The officers are there. But one is very unique and very special for many reasons, but with the CTA, we have an officer assigned to the CTA, to the public transportation section, and they sit in our SDSC room. And so if there's something going on at CTA, he or she, right now it's a he in the office, he could tap into the computers and then just turn around and tell the 1st District what they see. That makes us unique, and we work with the 18th District SDSC rooms. In the CTA, I don't want to steal your thunder, sir, but they have a phenomenal, their own SDSC room that has it. They can monitor all the rail and all the trains and all the buses. But like I said, when you call 911, you want us there. We could rattle off statistics, we could go through that, but as my former boss, Mike Piggott's here, statistics don't always tell the whole story. So we have to look at it, and ultimately what I like to look at is, do you feel safe? because I could talk about statistics going all the way down or going up, but if you're the victim, it doesn't matter that there was a decrease because you're the one that was victimized. So you matter. And in this population that I'm looking at, this audience, the people that report to you, the buildings that you represent, they matter to you. So what I always like to stress is give more work to people that work with me. So 1 in 18 is also unique because we have what's known as the business liaison sergeants. They have business liaison officers that work for them. Because of the success of those, it spread to all the other districts in the city. But the business liaison sergeants in the 18th district is Sergeant Aguilera, and then in the 1st district is Sergeant Burns. If you don't know their names, I recommend you do. And they do a phenomenal job of messaging different things out, such as special events, if there's upcoming road closures or crime patterns. So if you're part of BOMA, you should be getting them. If not, please see me afterwards, and I'll make sure that we get you on their groups. Because it is a huge tool. Are people getting them now? If I could show. So, and it is worth its weight in gold because it helps your people that you're representing know. And some of it, is not necessarily law enforcement related from the criminal standpoint, but if you know that the Bears game is happening on Saturday, we message that out because some of your employees may need longer times to get to work. A lot of your employees, especially in the businesses, may take public transportation. It might be more crowded. So it's little things like that. But the biggest thing is the communication. The biggest thing is the partnerships. And like I said, the 18th district has a commander, Jill Stevens. Commander Jill Stevens is the commander of 18. And then my commander in the 1st district is Commander Trish Zuber. Both of them would have liked to be here, but unfortunately they're part of the planning unfortunately, we have a wake and funeral coming up, and they're part of the planning on that. So they can't be here, but they definitely wanted me to stop and let you know that they are there, the business liaisons are there. But I mentioned the Bears game, I mentioned Lollapalooza, and when I look at that, my sunburn is not because I was on vacation, it's because I had to work the Bears game as well as be part of the planning. Chicago is open, and it's getting more open. I know we have masks on, but Lollapalooza was a perfect example with the hundreds of thousands of mostly young adults coming downtown. The Bears game had 50,000 people on Saturday. And with that is great. I'm a fan of lots of people downtown, of those people coming downtown, because I think normalcy begets normalcy. And that's one of the things that we like to stress. Because whether you like it or not, I view you as the extra eyes and ears for the Chicago Police Department. We rely on you to help call 911. Because I don't want ever to have someone take for granted that we may know something. This is one of those things where I feel that redundancy is good. Call. Maybe someone didn't call, and then we can make sure we get there. I mentioned statistics. We do track the calls for service. So I'm a fan of calls for service because it helps justify when we have to allocate resources where they're needed. And we can justify that there's an emerging problem. Hopefully it's emerging, we cut it off, and it doesn't turn into a larger scale. But with the partnerships, like I said, in the last couple of years, I just got back to the 1st district about a year and a half ago. I've been back and forth for the last 10 years. I'm excited to be back downtown. I do love it down here. I think it's definitely unique for many reasons, especially from the Chicago Police Department side. But it's the informal conversations that I think we get more out of it. If this was Zoom, and nothing is against that, but over the last year with all the Zooms, it's great. We have this conference, but it's the informal conversations that I had today that were already going to pay dividends in the future. Reconnecting with people that I haven't seen in a long time since I was a business liaison many moons ago. And just the informal conversations of pulling me aside and asking me a question, exchanging business cards. We're here to serve you. And I think everyone here will agree with that, especially from the public safety standpoint. It shouldn't always be reactive. We want to be proactive. We put people where we think things are going to happen, but we want your input. And I know with all these, I see security directors, I see people that have been around for a long time. Please use us. We're not just law enforcement and public safety, but we should be a resource to help out. And that's where myself and Sergeant Aguilera, as well as Sergeant Burns as the business liaison in the 1st district, that's where we come in. So I don't want to take up too much of their time, but I stress, please, I'll give everyone my name and Deputy Chief Piggott's phone number so you could bother him. But you could call me. You could have my number, the office number, the business liaison. And I'm not being trite. I'm not being sarcastic. Please call us because you have more insight than I think you give yourself credits for. And I think we should tap into that. And when I look around and I see a group this size, there's a lot of insight, experience, and knowledge that I would gladly steal from you to try to make the downtown safer. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be back here.
Thank you, Captain Mannion. And now I'd like to welcome Mr. Dorval Carter, President and CEO of the Chicago Transit Authority. Dorval.
Thank you, Barbara. And I want to say thank you to BOMA and the World Business Chicago for focusing on this important topic. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is a real pleasure to see all of you here today. And by pleasure, I mean the fact that I'm able to actually see you all here today, as opposed to talking to you through Zoom or some other video conferencing software. I was talking to my colleagues before this began, and we were commenting on the fact that even though we have been in regular and constant communication throughout this entire pandemic, this is the first time the three of us have been together in person in over a year and a half. So you accomplished the first here. You should be taking advantage of that. But it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about what CTA has been doing to make your employees feel safe and comfortable when they come back. And let me, get started here. Since the start of the pandemic, we have been doing everything that we can to provide a healthy, comfortable, and safe commute. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about what it is that we've been working on. Prior to the pandemic, CTA had one of the most robust cleaning regimens of any U.S. transit agency. But we found ways to make it even stronger, adding workers dedicated to cleaning, stepping up cleaning processes, and implementing new technologies like electrostatic sprayers. Our vehicles already have the benefit of good air circulation and efficient air filtration. The nature of our vehicles is that the doors open and close frequently, which allows for the fresh air to come in and out of the vehicle on a regular basis. In addition, on our rail cars, our HVAC system filters air more than once per minute. And on buses, air is filtered at least 50 times per hour on the standard 40-foot bus and 70 times per hour on a 60-foot articulated bus. We also wanted to provide our customers with the tools and information to help them make the best travel selections. We've launched new ridership dashboards to help customers see the times of day when buses and trains are least crowded so they could make informed travel decisions. We've also upgraded our Metra fare payment system, which was already able to provide contactless payment from a card or mobile phone. And one aspect of our service, not surprisingly, that we spend a lot of dialogue talking about is masks. Like every public transit agency in the country, the CTA follows federal and state guidelines regarding masks. The Transportation Security Administration order for all transportation entities, commercial airlines, airports, and surface transportation, including public transit, took effect in February of this year and is still in place. That's why CTA, along with our colleagues here from Metra and PACE, require masks to be worn by all customers and employees. To help our customers comply with this requirement, CTA provides free disposable masks at every station and in every bus. In fact, we have given out more than 5 million masks since last fall. We've installed special dispensers on our buses, and we're the largest U.S. transit agency to do so. And we have also handed out more than 35,000 travel healthy kits, which contain a reusable mask, hand sanitizer, and healthy travel tips for our customers. CTA also promotes mask compliance through education and encouragement. Everywhere you go on CTA's system, you'll find clear and abundant reminders of the mask requirement. Signs are posted on trains, buses, and in stations, which we have updated multiple times to keep the message fresh. Public service announcements on our digital display screens, automated and manual audio announcements on trains, buses, and stations. And the good news is that most of our customers follow the rules. We did an audit earlier this year that showed mask compliance to be around 90%, and we continue to look for ways to bring that number even higher. Unfortunately, we can't stop our service to encourage every customer about a mask. Each weekday, our trains make over 2,200 trips, and our buses make over 18,000 trips. At any given moment, hundreds of customers are boarding and alighting or entering stations or terminals. Enforcing each and every rider continually getting on and off a bus and train is impractical and will create delays for all of our customers. Lastly, and unfortunately, there have been far too many reports of people attacking public transit employees when they ask for mask compliance. I am not going to ask our employees to potentially put themselves in harm's way in order to enforce a mask requirement. And we encourage you to tell your employees, our customers, that wearing a mask is very important and expected if you're on a public transit system. We also get a lot of questions about the transmission of COVID on transit. There are multiple national and international studies tracking the spread of COVID-19 and studying whether public transit was a transmitter of the virus. Study after study has determined that public transportation is not a significant contributor to the spread of the COVID-19 virus. This is mainly due to consistent opening of vehicle doors, which brings in outside air, the relatively short duration riders spend on a vehicle, strong mask compliance, and relatively little talking, eating, or other activities that spread respiratory droplets by riders. For those of you who have been absent from the system for a while, you will see some new things when you return. We are testing our latest generation rail cars, the 7000 series, on each of our rail lines. They not only have a new look, but they also have a host of customer-friendly features like video display screens and LED lighting. The first of our new electric buses are also in service along the number 66 Chicago Avenue route. And we're continuing to work on the historic Red Purple Modernization Project, which is rebuilding a century-old backbone of our system. I also recently launched a new program called Refresh and Renew, which brings a blitz of maintenance, repair, and services to rail stations to make them more welcoming and enjoyable for our customers. You can see in the before and after photos what a big difference that work can make. And when you come back to CTA, you won't be alone. Our ridership has been growing steadily and is back up to more than 700,000 a day after reaching a low of 250,000. Our return to ridership is similar to other U.S. transit agencies, and we're outperforming some of the big agencies like Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. So I think it is safe to say that the city has reopened. Earlier this year, in conjunction with the city's full reopening, we launched When You're Ready, We're Ready, a comprehensive campaign to welcome riders back to the system. We've been heavily promoting CTA ridership and even launched a summertime promotion that reduced the price of our already very affordable passes. And we're looking for some additional events and promotions to happen later this year. Before I leave, I did want to share some recognition that CTA recently received, mainly because of the fact that I don't want you to take just my word that we're doing a good job on COVID and addressing the concerns that our customers may have. But recently, the American Public Transportation Association, which represents over 1,500 agencies and companies in North America, named CTA the Outstanding Transit Agency for 2021. There are a number of criteria that are used to make this determination, but one of the main areas was our performance during the COVID-19 pandemic. APTA noted that we were one of the only U.S. transit agencies that continued to offer full scheduled service throughout the pandemic. I also was personally honored to receive the APTA Transit Manager of the Year award, but I want you to understand that this is not about personal individual accolades. This is really about doing what we can to support our customers and communities that we serve. And it is always nice that a jury of your peers recognizes that work and CTA. And I should preface this by saying while CTA received this work, my colleagues at PACE and Metra have been a big part of our success as well. And I would equally commend them on all the work that they've done around the same issue. When I say that we talk to each other regularly about what we're doing, how we're doing, that's not by accident. Many of us have referred to this as trying to fly a plane while you're building it, and that's what this past year and a half has been for transit. None of us have understood how long it's taken for us to get to where we are today. There is no question that public transportation is absolutely critical to the region's continued recovery. As the three agencies are here today, we recognize that responsibility that we provide service to so many people that they rely on. Public transit was the backbone of the region before the pandemic, and it must resume that role. No form of transportation moves more people, more quickly, and more affordably than transit, and no other form of transportation is more environmentally friendly. As you all start coming back to the office or spending more time there, I want you all to know that CTA is there. If you're looking for more information for your employees, your colleagues, or yourself, we have a comprehensive website devoted to all things we're doing to welcome customers back. transitchicago.com/ready. As we state on that page and throughout our ridership campaign, when you're ready, we're ready. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorval. Now I'd like to welcome to the podium Jim Derwinski from Pace Suburban Bus.
Thank you, and like my colleague Dorval, it's great to see everybody in person. I can't tell you how refreshing it is. I just recently went out and spoke with a lot of my employees directly in person, 22 events, sometimes 100 people in a room. It just feels the right way to do business, and I know that you all know that. I've been with Metra for about 25 years and certainly have never seen anything like this. We've seen our ups and downs. I just want to just give you one of the numbers. As President Carter pointed out, they're back to about 700,000. We're back to about 75,000 trips a day, but our worst day was 7,200. So if you can think about the dynamic shift that occurred, 97.5% of our ridership left within about a 5-day period. And so we dealt with a lot of different things, but you're going to also see a lot of similarities. So I'd like to start by taking you through what we're doing. So what makes Metra safe? Ventilation, just like on the CTA, the ventilation is changed out on a rapid basis. 4 times every 4 minutes or 15 times an hour. The ventilation on the cars change out. Every time you get on and off the train car, more ventilation is changed out. We all know now that's a big factor in why it's safe to be in a compartment of that size. What else makes us safe? Same thing as President Carter. We're using hospital-grade air filters. Those are changed on a 30-day basis right now. We're looking at new ultrastatic and UV light technology. We've purchased 100 of those to apply to 50 of our rail cars in the very near future, and very much looking forward to any new car design incorporating that technology. And then, of course, masks are required. As President Carter points out, we're constantly handing out masks. Our conductors are all equipped with masks if someone has their mask break, forgets their mask, but masks remain the #1 concern that comes in through all of our forms, social media, direct. It still remains the #1 concern of someone else on the train not wearing a mask. Very challenging for all of us. Physical distancing, we still are saying 1 person per seat on the train. A couple of weeks ago, we were actually to the point where I guess friends were starting to sit next to each other and people are giving them weird looks. Because there's one thing about a Metra train, everybody wants to be in the front 2 cars because somehow those are the front 2 cars that get to the station first and they can get off the train first. So a lot of times people will tend to crowd, and we're starting to see that pattern reemerge, which is a good thing actually. And then just like President Carter, we embrace technology right on. As soon as we could get our hands on ultrastatic sanitizing equipment, foggers, this is done daily now. At our outer points before the trains are put in service, this is done routinely in all of our buildings as well. Touchless hand sanitizers were put right on the train cars. That's a feature that was added. We didn't have that before. And in our stations, we had a couple customer days where we actually handed out a lot of hand sanitizer and little goodie bags as well to make sure people felt safe on our trains. And then communication, this has got to be the biggest one and the biggest change. You can see one of our conductors on TV. Metra hasn't been on TV since the mid-90s. We were on the radio continually. Our first campaign we launched was actually September of last year, called Commute with Confidence. And during that campaign, we actually told everybody and showed everybody. We brought them into one of our facilities, all the media, and showed them physically how we do this work each and every day, allowed them to touch, feel, and smell, and even get interviews with some of our employees doing this work. Social media, obviously, is the platform we're using a lot to get our messaging out. And then these big, giant billboards. Where do they sit? They sit where two roadways pinch together, where people now are maybe coming back down to the office and saying, why am I stuck in this traffic? They can look up and they can see a Metra billboard there, because we know we're going to have to actually communicate with people and make sure that Metra is a choice in their head if the motor vehicle is the other choice. So this is what we've struggled with, all of us, since the beginning. You know, the fears, the health side of the pandemic versus the benefits. So Metra does a lot of things very well. We're very quick, affordable, we're clean, we de-stress your life. But at the end of the day, we have to balance right now that fear. And I think we're getting to that point. Society itself is starting to see that we can get through this pandemic. We can wear these masks, and we're getting vaccinations out there. So this has been what we've been struggling with the entire time. Just like President Carter, we also enhanced our dashboard. So we don't have real time on the cars. We can't tell you today how many people are in every car, but we get his conductor counts at the end of the day. And then we upload this into a system so anybody wanting to take a train tomorrow can see the ridership patterns, and then we color code it to let people understand how densely packed a train is. Right now, green, of course, is always something good. And that also goes to our electronic website as well. And then we put this out on July 12th. It's tell us how we're doing survey. This is onboard survey. People can hit that QR code. They can then give us direct feedback of information. This obviously is one of the places we're very much hearing about the masks and people not wearing masks on a train. But this also lets us have the ability to hear about our schedules, our fares, and any other concerns. This is a first that we've ever seen in the nation. We're really excited about this. In 3 weeks' time, we've already gotten about 4,000 respondents. And just a fact, we've provided about 10 million rides during the pandemic, and there's been no one traced back to a Metra train. As pointed out, all the things that we're all doing, it's safe to ride Metra. We're a big part of bringing back people downtown Central Business District. We certainly know our role. We certainly know how to de-stress people's lives. So your help in talking with your employees is always going to be very important in this conversation. So just like CTA, you can look at metrorail.com website. You can see everything that we're doing. Look at the new flexible schedules that we have out there. Once again, I thank you all for this opportunity.
And I thank you, Jim, from Metra. My apologies. Don't cancel my ticket. Because I got it wrong. Now I'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Rocky Donahue from Pace Suburban Bus.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Like my colleagues, I'm also very excited to be here with you. I'm going to sound like a broken record, so I'm going to be really quick. And I'm not saying this that I don't want to tell you all the great things we're doing at Pace, but a lot of them are very similar to what you heard at CTA and Metra, and I could go on and show you stats forever about masks and ventilation and sanitizing, but I think you probably want to get to asking us some questions. But there are a couple things I would like to bring to your attention. Our ridership is at about 70% of pre-pandemic levels. We're doing about 70,000 trips a day. Pre-pandemic, we're at around 100,000, so we're getting back or closer to normal, but we still have a ways to go. Just as Jim pointed out, we did 18 million trips since the pandemic started, and we have not yet had one outbreak of COVID out of those 18 million trips and on our system. So one question you might be thinking is, so why is the Suburban bus guy here? Why is the guy who's responsible for buses in the suburbs in downtown in the city of Chicago? How can I benefit you, or what's my relationship potentially with all of you was, as Jim and Dorval pointed out, we're a regional system. And we all work together. And we need a healthy CTA PACE, and we need a healthy Metra, and I would argue they'd like to have a healthy PACE as well. I'd imagine some of you probably live in the suburbs, even though you work downtown. I'd almost guarantee you a number of your employees work in the suburbs. 50% of our customers connect to the CTA at some point in their day. 50% of them connect to either begin their trip or end their trip with the CTA. So we're a cog in that wheel, but we're also an important part of that cog. I have a number of slides, but we're going to skip ahead. I just wanted to show you a very short video to give you, it's about 30 seconds, just what we've done as it relates to sanitizing on our system. And then if we can skip ahead, one service that maybe a number of your employees use is what we call our Bus on Service program, Bus on Shoulders program, I'm sorry. Started 10 years ago on I-55. It operates from Plainfield, Romeoville, Bolingbrook, Burr Ridge, and it uses the shoulder, the Edens. I can tell you 10 years ago when we launched this service, people were laughing at us. And I say that humbly. You're going to drive a bus on the shoulder? Have you lost your mind? Prior to the pandemic, I would argue it was one of the fastest growing services in the entire system. When we started 400 people a day were riding it. Now we're up to almost 4,000 people a day. We can't put enough of that service out there. It's gotten so popular, we expanded it from I-90 from Elgin to the Rosemont Blue Line. We're on the Edens now, and we're working with IDOT on a study for the Eisenhower. Then if we can just go to the last slide, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the heroes, quite honestly, and it's just not at PACE. It's CTA, at Metra, the Chicago Police Department. They're truly heroes, and in our case, we call them heroes moving heroes. They ensure essential employees can get to work. They ensure that a senior citizen can get to Walgreens. Things we take for granted, getting groceries, those individuals who don't have that accessibility, have that ability to do it. Day in and day out during this pandemic, these heroes have put their own safety and their family safety on the line, and I can't thank them enough for that. And I'm going to close. I also want to thank Sheamus and the Chicago Police Department, because they're truly heroes too for what they do for our community every day. And I'm going to close. I'm going to actually embarrass Sheamus here a little bit, because I've known Sheamus for quite a long time. And when I saw him here today, I was like, wow, what are you doing here? Sheamus saw.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, you said the same thing. What are you doing here? Sheamus was a student trustee at my alma mater, Illinois State University, and I got to know Sheamus because I was the former board chairman of Illinois State University. So it's funny how a small world brings people together. So if there's any Redbirds out in the audience, go Redbirds.
I'd like to thank our panel for their wonderful presentations, and now we're just going to cut right into Q&A questions. I have some prepared questions, and if we have time, staff will tell me. We'll take a few from the audience. First question goes to you, Jim. Could you tell me in your own words, what do you say, or how do you convince commuters who now opt to drive to the office and become a part of the whole pileup on all the expressways, or just stay home rather than to take public transit? What do you say?
Well, the benefits Being inside in-person meetings, obviously, I think you guys all know that. There's so much more collaboration that can get done. You can't do that from your video at home. So you got to get down to the office. So getting down to the office, the last thing you want to do is get down here and be stressed out that parking's almost doubled. The parking lots are, because everybody thinks they've got a better option. But when it comes down to going a large distance and moving a lot of people over quick period of time, Metra is really good at that. We de-stress people's lives in both directions, 95% on time. So if you've got many miles to transit to get to your workplace, there's no place better than Metra. You can take a nap, you can meet friends, you can do work, anything you want.
Good, like the taking a nap part. For community and business, Sheamus, he said I could call him that. How can business and the community as a whole work with you and engage and partner with the police in helping us through this whole transitional period?
Not to be too redundant from when I spoke before, but we do have the 1st District and the 18th District having, pardon me, the business liaison sergeants. I think that's key, and we should really tap into them based on the fact that that's where the whole concept of the business liaison office started. And the success that we had in the 1st and the 18th District spread to other districts citywide. That being said, I believe that, like I said earlier, we're here to serve you. So give me your information. I'll make sure you get added. As downtown is opening more restaurants are opening, lines are getting there, you do see traffic. I remember sitting in a meeting a long time ago when the people from CDOT were describing the philosophy of seeing traffic, and some people look at it as this terrible thing, and I agreed and then said, well, no, it's a robust economy and all that. Now I'm getting older, and now I'm that person saying, well, it's nice to see the lines in traffic because that means people are back down here. So I'm glad to see that, but with you being down here, it helps us, and we know there's challenges. We know there's issues. I think homeless issues is those are coming back down. You may see more homeless people, or it's not necessarily that there's more downtown, but they might have moved from where they were earlier to where they are now. We reorganized our homeless outreach team in the 1st District. These are officers. That's basically their job. They focus on that vulnerable population of the homeless, try to work with them along with the other city agencies like Family and Support Services to try to give them options. Sometimes they don't want it, sometimes they take us up on the options, but we know that's an issue for many businesses, many storefronts, many nice buildings like this, that having the homeless, but that's one thing we reorganized during the last year to try to reassess it, reevaluate it, and try to make sure the officers are out there.
Great, thank you. So Rocky, moving on to you, tell me what proactive steps can riders take to be safe when riding public transit, and what are some of the things that we can do as an end user to help you in that regard?
That's a great question. First and foremost, I'd encourage everybody to get vaccinated. What this Delta variant has showed us that is 97% of individuals currently being hospitalized are unvaccinated. 99% of the deaths today are a result of unvaccinated individuals. The vaccinations work. I'm not here to get political. I'm not here to tell you the right or wrong, but it works. So the first thing we can all do is get vaccinated. Wear your masks. You've heard Dorval say that, and to us, it's still a law. It's still required on public transit, but wear your masks. As Jim has mentioned, and we have hand sanitizers on all of our buses. Keep your hands sanitized. Watch what you touch. And to the extent possible, try to use social distance. As more people come back, that's harder to do, but those would be the things I would encourage you
Very
could do
good.
as riders.
And along those lines, Jim, can you tell us how can business leaders help raise awareness? You talked a lot through your slideshow, a lot of great information, but for this audience, what are some of the things they can do to help you in getting the message out and making certain that people are following?
Absolutely.
protocols?
I think for all three service boards, the first key is we have great communication tools on our websites. So people put myths in front of you. They say, well, I can't do this because there's clear information that we've all provided out there. What are we doing to make the system safe? And of course, it eventually comes right down to the buildings themselves are safe. Those same people that are given the hesitation to say, well, I really can't come back into the building right now, they're at some other gathering somewhere else on the weekend doing exactly the opposite. So it's really just about trying to get people back into the swing of things. I talk about it all the time about the benefit of in-person meetings, that collaboration piece, and I think that one is from the business side here. That's got to be the biggest key here. They have to have a reason to come down. We provide the safe way to get down, and then it's got to be beneficial for everybody that conversation is worthwhile. Otherwise, if they keep looking at that video screen, we all kind of know what that's going to end up like.
Thank you. So for Dorval, I'd like to just touch on this one, and Sheamus, if you have an opportunity quickly to chime in as well. We see travel picking up. We see more folks coming downtown. Schools will be opening soon. So you're going to see a mix of individuals coming in and out and moving about and all of that. So how can both police and transit work together to help manage all of that and also debunk some of the, the myths that people might pick up instantly when they see a group of teenagers coming from a football practice or whatever? So if you could address that, that would be great.
Sure. I think that, as you heard Sheamus mention during his presentation, the Chicago Police Department and CTA work very closely together. We coordinate. There are regular and ongoing conversations on both sides to figure out what the best way is to support our customers and to address concerns that our customers may have about safety on CTA. As was indicated earlier, the reality is that crime is very low on CTA. It's probably lower than it's been in many years, but to the person who's a victim of a criminal act, that really doesn't matter. And we have worked very hard to both increase our presence on CTA. We are supplementing the police department with unarmed security guards that we've now added and deployed onto our system. And we've worked really hard to really educate our customers about situational awareness. There are things that you can do as a customer to not put yourself in a position where you become a victim of a crime. There are things that we encourage our customers to do, particularly late at night or at times when the system may not be as busy as it is at other times. And we do that in coordination with the police department itself. So I'm very happy and very pleased with the partnership that we have in place today. And the mass transit unit of the police department that's led by Commander Klein are doing a terrific job of supporting CTA and engaging in ways that ultimately ensure that we can provide the maximum safety possible for our customers.
And echo that, as stated before, one of the other nice things for the downtown area is the fact that Commander Klein, who is the commander of the mass transit, they're located in the same building as the 1st District. So at 17th and State, that's the same building. We call it the annex, but they're on the annex side. So we're constantly working back and forth. They have, one thing they changed in the last couple of years is that they dedicated detectives just to the mass transit. So before, if you're a victim of a crime, or the detectives are the ones that follow up on the crime. The officers in the uniform typically write down, take the case report, they document the crime, and then you have detectives that would do the follow-up. One thing they did a few years ago, was it?
Yeah.
Right before I got to the 1st District. So obviously I can't take any credit for it, but they put detectives there. And the reason why that is good is because they're sole focused. They are singular focused on crime on the CTA. So although they care about the rest of the city, that is what they're looking at. So they know patterns of people, as you mentioned, like teens coming down. Well, one of the things that these detectives are great at is differentiating between, oh no, we know that crew, they hit over the weekend, they're wearing this clothes, and they message it out not only to the 1st District, but the 18th District. So having those detectives, I think, was a game changer, in addition to their little war room that I referenced earlier with their situation decision support center, as well as having the officer. With us, yes, having one of the things that changed, having people come back down, is the fact that now we have to differentiate who's coming down. Because for a while, when no one was down here, it made our job a little bit easier because there was no one down here. So when we saw someone, it was kind of strange. Now with everyone coming down, we have to look, and that's also where you come in. Because if you see someone suspicious, please let us know, and you articulate that when you call 911. Because for us, it might just be a group of people walking down the street. It could be all you just taking a field trip looking. But to other people, that's odd because they kept doing X, Y, and Z. So when that one squad car is just driving by, it may not seem odd in that 5 seconds it took for the officer to look. But if you happen to be at lunch, if you happen to be looking and you're actually watching these people, what is their behavior? Does it raise to a level of, yeah, maybe we should call 911? Doesn't mean they're necessarily guilty, but it allows us to go and look into it and see why are they there, what are they doing, are they trying to pickpocket, are they trying to commit a crime, and again, trying to be proactive with that.
Great, thank you. Now I'd like to segue to a different topic. I know we're talking about people returning to work, but for our partners at Transit, tell me, are you facing staffing shortages, and if so, how are you addressing those issues for now? This could be a free PSA for you.
Well, let me start. Yes, we are having hiring challenges like I assume many of you are in the private sector. The ability to recruit and retain employees now has been more challenging than ever. And that's not just with what I call our exempt staff or basically our office worker administrative staff, but primarily with our frontline staff, our bus operators, our rail operators, our customer service assistants. We have really expanded tremendously our recruitment efforts. We are engaging the community a lot more and making people aware of not only what the opportunities are at CTA, but the benefits of creating a career in public transit and trying to, as best as possible, engage and identify places and people who might be interested in coming to work at CTA.
Great.
I'll be just a little shorter because we really don't have too much of a hiring problem. In June, we did a virtual hiring event. As we ramped down service last year, we had let a lot of people go, didn't fill a lot of jobs. We're starting to refill. We got conductors classes, engineers classes. We're ready to expand our schedules, and we really don't see that big of a hiring problem. In some professional jobs, yes, but not overall.
Good. Rocky.
Yeah, thank you. Similar to CTA, we are seeing a big challenge with bus drivers and call center, our customer relation call center. And one thing you may not realize about PACE, we operate the second largest, what we call ADA paratransit service in the nation. Other than New York City, more people with disabilities get on PACE buses every day than any other system. And we're having a real hard time attracting drivers for that. And they're smaller vehicles, and they're scared too because they don't have the social distancing opportunity. So we're having a heck of a time recruiting drivers right now. So if you want to be a driver, come and see me.
Okay. Now, Jim, I'd like to direct this question to you because in your presentation, you talked about apps and all the wonderful things that one could do via communication and all that. But here's the situation. Not everyone taking public transit might have access to readily the gadgets or the email, all that kind of thing. We do have pockets where people are just not networked yet. So how do you handle that? What do you say? How do you get those messages out? Because they still need to have it, because they're probably some of those workers that we're relying on.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact is our patterns have really shifted. Most people are moving toward the app, but for those that haven't got there yet, we still sell tickets at ticket agents downtown. The conductor on board can still sell tickets. We are moving into probably the next year and a half to start deploying ticket vending machines at all stations, which will change our dynamic of the way we operate. And we're going to continue to look at technology to see if it fits our system. Being such a broad, big system, it's obviously very expensive if we were to really encompass the whole system and say like a tap-on, tap-off type device.
Yeah. Dorval, do you have a comment about that at all?
I would echo what Jim has already said. We obviously focus on providing information to our customers at our various stations. There's information on our buses as well. We have a lot of digital signage that is at all of our rail stations and on our platforms to provide information to our employees. And you can always call our customer service line if you have a question or if you're looking to get information about CTA or how to use CTA at a particular point in time. So we recognize that we certainly adopted a lot of the social media and other communication strategies, so we have not abandoned the traditional communication strategies that we've used, for decades.
Great, great. Now, we're nearing the end of our time, but I just really want the transit experts especially to just kind of tell the audience, what do you see going forward? I mean, I know none of us saw this, but going forward, as you've gotten into maybe ramping up technology to implement your strategies, and things are continuing to evolve, what do you see down the road? Or what do you think?
I think we're all still trying to get our head around what the quote new normal is going to be. Not unlike what all of you all are doing in terms of your own businesses right now. What we've recognized is, one, that we have to remain flexible. We have to be prepared to adapt to whatever the commuting and transportation patterns are going to be going forward. And technology and innovation is going to be a big part of the strategies that we focus on. How to make it easier for our customers to use our system, and how to make our system more efficient to meet the needs of our customers.
Great.
So one of the things I'm really excited about is in July we launched 4 pilot schedules. What they do is they take out the vast peak of our normal rush hours and they spread this peak out for more memorable service throughout the course of the day, almost hourly service. In some cases, depending on where you're at and the infrastructure available, it's half-hour service. So it's really interesting that we were looking at this prior to the pandemic. Through the pandemic, we really did a lot of working with our freight partners, because we just can't ride on the roadways and turn right at the red light. So we ended up having to really reinvent 4 of these schedules. And so far, they're out there in a pilot. The feedback is great. I think, as Dorval pointed out, people are going to be looking for that flexibility a lot more. Maybe coming in a little later, maybe leaving a little earlier. And I think that's what our pilot schedules give us right now.
Great.
To piggyback, exactly what Dorval and Jim said, I think we have to think differently is how we view traditional public transit. But a couple of things I'm excited about is we're doing some pilots on zero emission technology, electric buses, fuel cell buses. I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing some tests on driverless vehicles, especially in smaller vehicles to get into suburban industrial parks. So to piggyback on technology, we're very excited about technology, innovation, and things I can tell you we have to do better, at least in our neck of the wood, is equity and accessibility for the public as a whole.
Great, thank you. I'd like to thank our panelists for sharing their pearls of wisdom and the resources and updates as it relates to all of their agencies that they're running. Also want to thank all of you for being here today. And as you can see, this is it was a packed session and a lot of great information to share, and certainly we could continue on. I'd like to thank our hosts today. I thank our sponsors. Obviously, we have them all displayed on the screens here, but I want to say personally thank all of you for being here. It is great to see, and also hopefully we'll continue this dialogue as Chicago continues to return. But I want to tell you a few things that maybe you might consider and tell your families and your neighbors about. Certainly, we want everybody to take advantage of the fact that there's lunch on LaSalle from 11 to 2 today. So I think that's a fun thing. And there's Sundays on State Street from 9 until 2, again, a fun-filled series of events. And meet me on the Magma Mile at Water Tower on Sundays from 11 to 4. So here we are, here's the start. Here's a nice, safe, well-planned series of events that people are planning for all of us to enjoy. And I'd like to again thank all of our panelists for their comments today, and most importantly, thank you for your service.